of our office hours. I'm Vicki Troffler, the PDEP coordinator, and I am so happy that you're able to join us during this busy time of the school year. This webinar will review the PDEP end of the year procedures and help you to get a head start on the PDEP process for next year. And at the end, we'll also have a few reminders for ADEPT as well. To orient you to your controls, there's a chat window on the far right-handed side. For now, if you would please introduce yourself to the room if you haven't already by typing in your name, the name of your district, and your role. And throughout this webinar, please use this chat to share your reactions or pose any questions that you may have. Other folks from the Office of Educator Effectiveness who are with me today are Dr. Julie Hartwell, Dr. Kim Howard, Beverly Fly, Faye Colley, Rodney Evans, and Lilitol Monsager. They'll be helping with this process throughout the webinar, and we'll have some time at the end of the presentation for any questions as well. This visual should look very familiar to you. For details about the PDEP Continuous Improvement Cycle, please refer to the PDEP 2017 guidelines that are found on our website. These guidelines explain what the roles and responsibilities are for each evaluator and principal for every step of the continuous improvement cycle. Most of our districts are up to date on their principal evaluations for this year. So for the purposes of this webinar, we're going to focus on the last two steps. After the mid-year conference, you will have ongoing implementation, evidence collection, and the formal self-assessment. And then we'll cover the last step, the end of the year conference and the evaluation rating. If your district is not yet to these last two steps and you do need assistance, please feel free to contact me by email or phone, and I'll be happy to help you as needed. So during the step of the ongoing plan implementation and evidence collection, two things need to happen. First, the principal collects evidence of professional practice and may use the optional attachment feature in sclead.org. And second, the evaluator collects evidence of professional practice and may use the optional observations feature in sclead. This is a screenshot of the overall status page from a principal's view. As you can see on the left-hand side, the principal can see the attachment feature. We're currently working on automated notifications for sclead, and by next school year, we're hoping that every time the principal submits anything new to attachments, all of the evaluators that are assigned to that principal's team will receive a notification that there are new attachments available for their review. For this year, the principal would need to notify the evaluators on the team that the attachments are there for their review. This next slide is a screenshot of the status page from the evaluator's view. As you can see on the left-hand side, the evaluators can see and access the attachments that the principal would have submitted and also the observations feature. This observations feature is also optional for our evaluators, but this provides a space along with the complete rubric for evaluators to hold all of their notes of evidence throughout the school year. Please do note that the principals do not have access to this observations feature. If the evaluator would like to share any of their comments from the observations tab with the principal, they would need to share them in either a face-to-face conference or print a copy or copy them onto the summative evaluation form at the end of the year, which is the only form that the principals will receive. During the next step or during this step of the continuous improvement cycle, the principals will have the opportunity to evaluate their own strengths and areas of refinement of the assessed standards by completing and submitting the principal self-assessment. We know that effective principals are reflective of their own principal practice, and that the self-assessment allows for principals to continue to improve their skills and collect evidence during the second semester after the mid-year conference. So remember, the self-assessment can only be completed in SC Lead after that mid-year conference because it should be based on that formative feedback given by the evaluator at the mid-year point. So to access the principal self-assessment, the principal would need to log on to SC Lead and go to their overall status page. On the left-hand side, they would click Attachments. They would click Assessment, as seen here. Once the principal clicks on Assessment, they will see the link that will access their template. On the template, they will need to assign themselves a rating for each one of the assessed standards. These comments are optional, but it certainly gives the principal the opportunity to have a voice in their own assessment. They may also include any electronic attachments of documentation at this time. The principal will want to include anything here that he or she would like for the evaluators to see before those final assessment ratings are given. Just like the principal's professional development plan at the beginning of the year, the principal's self-assessment cannot be viewed by the evaluators until the principal releases it by clicking Save and then signing it. At that point, we are hopeful that at beginning next year, the evaluators will receive an automatic notification that the principal's self-assessment is ready for review after the principal signs it. But for this year, the principal can notify the evaluators that the self-assessment has been submitted. Hopefully this would have been done by the district's deadline that the evaluator would have shared during the mid-year conference. The final step of the continuous improvement cycle is the end of the year conference and evaluation rating. So to begin this process, the evaluators need to go to the principal's overall status page and click Assessment. That will bring up this screen, and as you can see, this is where the principal would have completed their self-assessment. Evaluators will want to look for this link that reads Start Evaluator Assessment. This is the individual evaluator's assessment template, and whether you are an evaluation chair or the evaluator assigned to that team, every team member must complete an individual evaluator assessment. Remember, the principals will not be able to see these evaluator assessments. They'll only see that summative evaluation form that we'll go over in just a few minutes. As a reminder, comments are optional except for two cases. These required comments and any comments that you want the principals to see must be on the summative evaluation form. The required comments include the following. By regulation, all induction principals must be given oral and written feedback on all 9 standards and criteria. That means that those comments should be comprehensive and detailed enough to cover all of the criteria under each standard. And if any principal has a rating for any standard that is needs improvement or unsatisfactory, comments must be included to give the principal adequate feedback for refinement in those areas. So let's take a look at the template where the evaluator clicks on the Evaluator Assessment link. As you can see here, The principal has already completed the self-assessment, and those ratings are automatically transferred to this page. In order to record the evaluator's rating, he or she would need to click Edit at the top of the page and then indicate the ratings for each assessed standard. Here you'll see those detailed comments by the individual evaluator. Again, these comments must be copied and pasted to the summative evaluation form for the principal, since the principal will not see this individual evaluator assessment. And finally, at the bottom of this template, an overall rating must be determined and then signed by the evaluator. So here we are back at the assessments link. As you can see, in this case, there were 2 evaluators assigned to this principal. Both the evaluation chair and the evaluator have now completed their individual evaluator assessment. Since in this case there's more than one evaluator, the evaluation chair should click on the link to start the principal summative evaluation worksheet. Of course, if there's only one evaluator, you would not need to have the option, and you wouldn't have the option to complete the worksheet, which is meant to reach consensus among those evaluators. So remember, if there's just one evaluator assigned to the principal, that person must have the assigned role of evaluation chair. Every principal evaluation team must have an evaluation chair. When the evaluation chair clicks on the worksheet, it will bring up this page. Again, the principal's self-assessment will automatically be populated. You'll also notice that the ratings from the first evaluator are automatically populated, as well as the second evaluator's rating. You should see this error message indicating that the final rating must be completed. The evaluation chair will be able to click Edit at the top of the page and then decide the final rating based on all of the evidence from the principal and the other evaluators. There is no state-level formula for this process. The weightings for the standards are up to you. They're up to each district. This final rating column will then be populated onto the summative evaluation form. So once the evaluation chair completes this final rating column and the overall rating, all of the evaluators on the team must sign the worksheet. And ideally, those evaluators will be meeting face-to-face, and this process could then be completed in a timely manner. So once the worksheet is completed, or the individual evaluator assessment is completed if there's just one evaluator, the evaluation chair will be able to go back into the assessment feature and access this page once again. And at the bottom, you will see the form that I have been referring to, the Principal Summative Evaluation Form. This is the form that the principal will receive and see and sign after all of the evaluators have signed it. Here's the Principal Summative Evaluation Form. As you can see, the principal's self-assessment is still here on this final form. The next column, called the evaluator's rating, was populated from the worksheet, which was that consensus rating entered by the evaluation chair. If there was only one evaluator, you would see that evaluation chair's rating here. The evaluation chair has one last opportunity to fine-tune the final rating, and will do so here. The purpose of this form is so that the principal would not see the individual ratings of each evaluator, but rather their consensus decision. This is the form that must contain those required and desired comments to the principal. You can see here that the comments have been included for Standard 1. Once this form is signed by all the evaluators, it will be released and visible to the principal. So it is our recommendation that the evaluators do not sign it until that face-to-face end-of-the-year conference to allow for a rich conversation to discuss those final ratings. At the end of the year conference, 3 things must be completed in SC Lead. First, the principal's professional development plan must be reviewed and signed by the principal and the evaluation chair. You will notice here that the principal's professional development plan is 68% completed. That's because the signatures are not there yet for the end of the year. This line must be 100% before you can proceed. Next, the end of the year conference page must be completed with the date, the assurances, and signatures. And finally, the summative evaluation form must be presented to and signed by the principal. After all the evaluators have signed, the principal will be able to review and sign the summative evaluation form. This signature of the principal does not imply their agreement with the evaluation. Simply indicates that the evaluation has been reviewed with him or her. If the principal would like to submit any comments regarding those final ratings, he or she may do so here with the attachment feature. Once the continuous improvement cycle has been completed by all principal evaluation teams, the PDEP DA should oversee and ensure that everything is 100% complete. The DA's go-to page to view the status of all the principals in your district is found when you click on the Evaluations tab at the top of the page. On this page, you will see all of the principals that were set up at the beginning of the school year. On the left-hand side, be sure that all of these fields are correct. The only fields that should be entered here are the academic year, your district, and the evaluation model, which should be PDEP. Then, next to each principal's name, you will see that the bubbles of the status correspond to the donut and the lines on the overall status pages of the individual principals. At this point, in our example, all of the bubbles should be darkened except for the last one. We'll now go through the procedure to make sure that that last bubble is dark as well. Now the DA is ready to close out the evaluation. Once a principal's continuous improvement cycle is complete, as indicated by all 100% lines and a complete donut, the DA needs to go to the results page. And this is where they would click results. This is the results page. The overall summative rating has been automatically populated on this page from the summative evaluation form. The DA has the authority to edit and update the next year's evaluation type and the next year's higher status. Remember here that the principals are typically on Tier 1 status for the first 2 years and must complete a full evaluation both years. Once the full evaluation is successful for Year 2 principals, then they may move to a partial evaluation. Remember that full evaluations are required by regulation at least every 3 years. As you complete these settings, the system will roll over this information to next year's setting page, where you'll begin the evaluation process for next year. DAs will also be able to mark the evaluations complete by clicking Edit near the bottom of the page and marking it complete. Just as a reminder, if the principal leaves mid-year, you should have marked the evaluation closed on the settings page, not here. Once again, here's the Evaluations tab where you can see the status of all your principals. Since we just marked the evaluation complete, on the results page, the last bubble for complete is dark. And the DAs will continue this process for each principal by marking them complete on their results pages. Once that's done, the DA or the SU will need to close out the evaluations as a whole. So to do this, the DA or superintendent would need to go to your district's dashboard. As you can see, we have completed all PDEPT evaluations, so the donut for the PDEPT evaluation is 100% complete. Our next and final step is to make sure that the other PDEPT donut, the PDEPT assurances, is also 100% complete. Remember that those annual assurances must be insured at two levels, the principal level and the district level. The principals and evaluators sign the annual assurances for the principal at the level, orientation, mid-year, and end-of-the-year conferences. And superintendents sign those district-level annual assurances at the end of the year. They do this by going to the district dashboard, and on the left-hand side, clicking on Validation and Assurances. So, on the district dashboard on the left-hand side, here is Validation and Assurances. You will see a Validations tab. When you click on this tab, there should be a list of any principals whose evaluations are still incomplete. All of these issues must be resolved at the district level. That may mean that there are principals listed here who are no longer in that position at this time. In that case, those evaluations should be marked closed on their settings page. If you are unable to resolve any of these issues, you can contact me and we will walk through this together. Oftentimes, this is due to the role that was transferred over from the district's PCS system. So anyone who has the assigned role of principal would require a PDEPT evaluation. Those roles can be revised by the DA if someone is incorrectly coded as a principal for this year. This problem may also keep your district, the first donut, the district PDEPT evaluations from being complete or getting 100% as well. So these cases are pretty rare if the district's PCS system is up to date and accurate. But on the following slides, I'm going to show you how to correct it if this is the problem for your district. If you have someone listed under the evaluation of the validation and assurances that is not in a principal role this year, you will need to make the change in SC Lead by changing their role. To do this, go to the district's dashboard and click on Schools on the left-hand side. Your person may be listed under the school administration or in another school. You'll want to click on the dashboard for that particular location. Once inside of that locations dashboard, you'll want to click on Staff. This will bring up the school staff list for that location. Locate your person, and their role and evaluation type will most likely say principal. If this is incorrect, click on Details. This takes you to their staff details page. The information at the top of this page was carried over from PCS. DAs will have the right to edit the middle of this page. DAs can change the role and evaluation type to something other than principal. You would need to click the Edit button at the top first. This will cue the system that this person should not be PDEPT evaluated, and this will remove them from that validations column on the district dashboard. So now we're back at the district dashboard, finishing up our district annual assurances. You can see that there are no principals with evaluations needing validations on this page. That's because we were able to complete the evaluation for our sample principal. You'll also see the Ready to Sign tab. You'll see the number 1 next to it. That's our one principal that we worked on together here. Ideally, all of your principals are going to be listed here. So you'll click on this tab and you'll see the button to sign off on them. Once you have signed these district level annual assurances, those principals will be moved over to the Sign tab. This can be done by the district DA and ideally the superintendent. So back to our district dashboard, you'll see where we had 100% on our PDEPT evaluations, and now because we have signed on the district annual assurances, under the Validations and Assurances tab, we now have 100% of the PDEPT assurances. So when these 2 PDEPT donuts are 100% complete, that means that you're 100% complete on your principal evaluation submission for the year. So, when is the due date? As a reminder, PDEPT only has 2 state level due dates. The first one is important at this time, and it is September the 1st. That is the official final due date for all principal evaluations to be submitted through SC Lead. That means that both of those PDEPT district donuts are 100% complete by September 1st. The second deadline is September 15th, and that refers to the new evaluations that you will be setting up for the next school year. All principal professional development plans and principal orientation conferences for next year should be completed by September 15th. We realize that those 2 dates for 2 different school years are very close together. So let's consider a way to make this easier for you. Again, principal evaluations are due by September 1st. However, districts who have turned in their evaluations by June 30th noticed several advantages. There was more immediate, meaningful feedback to principals. If there were areas to refine, those principals could work on an action plan throughout the summer. If the principal or evaluators leave the district after June 30th, it can be difficult to have them sign an SC Lead. The school years would not overlap in SC Lead for signing annual assurances, setting up evaluations, and completing evaluations, which can be very confusing. And finally, you would know at the beginning of the school year whether to put the principals on full or partial evaluations based upon the results from the end of the previous year, including which standards you would need to require for those partial evaluations. So finally, let's consider some steps that DAs can take to help make next year go even better than this year. Once you know which evaluators will serve on each principal team, you can begin setting up the evaluations for next school year. That means doing the bulk setup, completing that settings page, completing the required standards page, and assigning the evaluators to the evaluation team. By next year, we hope to have the automated notifications to the principal that the evaluation has been set up and they can now go into SC Lead and complete their principal's professional development plan. And remember that second deadline, the principal professional development plan and orientation conferences should be held by September the 15th. That does conclude our portion of the PDEPT reminders. Here again is my contact information if you need to jot it down. At this time, I'm going to turn over the presentation to Faye Colley to provide some reminders for ADEPT And I'm going to switch over and monitor the chat to answer any outstanding PDEP questions. And I want to thank you again for your attendance today.
Thank you so much, Vicki. Again, thank you for joining us. We're just going to share a few ADEPT reminders. With regards reporting evaluation results, again, evaluation results must be reported by June 20th, 2019. The mandatory reporting includes the following: SLO ratings, indicator level ratings, overall status, and recommendations for next year. Just a quick reminder, when you set for your recommendations for next year, please do not choose ineligible for rehire. We are removing that from the option, and that is only a state level option to put in. With regards to ADEPT plans, again, this year, they are due to our office by June 1st, 2019. Plans need to be submitted in SCLEAD.org, and there will be no safety waivers beyond the 2018-2019 school year, meaning everybody that is a classroom-based teacher will be evaluated using the STTS 4.0 rubric and using the POP-OP evaluation cycle. Each district's annual ADEPT plan communicates how the evaluation processes will be carried out. So it's very important that you submit your ADEPT plans timely. We will be providing feedback. If you need assistance on how to do the district ADEPT plan inside SLE.org, we had a virtual office hours in April that specifically presented step-by-step instructions on how to fill the SLE.org ADEPT plan. Now I'm going to turn over to Dr. Hartwell with regards to updates or reminders on the results page.
Thank you, Faye. So, as Faye mentioned, we just wanted to share a few reminders since several DAs on the line are also ADEPT contacts for their district. We're taking this opportunity to share a few reminders. First, regarding signatures. On signatures, we strongly suggest appear on the results page. So here you see a screenshot of a sample results page. To ensure transparency, not just for observation scores, but also overall results, please encourage your principals to encourage both the teacher and the evaluation chair to sign the results page. This will ensure transparency in line with what was required on the former ET3 form. So just remember that while both the teacher and the evaluator signatures have to be present on the actual observation forms, the lack of either teacher, evaluator signature on the results page will not prevent you, the district ADEPT contact, from completing the evaluation. But we believe it's best practice to get both the teacher and the evaluation chair to sign the results page if at all possible. So here's our next reminder regarding end of the year procedures for educators on GBE contracts. This is a new feature for us called auto completion that parallels the rollover process from the old ADS system. So we just want to share some updates about this. When entering final results for GBE educators, you're still going to click on the results page, a sample, of course, of which you see here. The SLO approver still has to enter the record and enter the SLO rating manually. If you are using SC Lead to capture the SLO process, it will not automatically populate. The SLO approver has to enter SC Lead and go to the results page to enter the SLO rating manually. For educators on a continuing contract who have an SLO score entered in SC Lead, OEELD will complete the automatic rollover process. This means that any educator with a continuing GBE contract who has an SLO score entered in SC Lead will automatically receive the overall status of MET, the next evaluation level of GBE, the next contract level of continuing, and the higher status as rehired. This auto completion feature will also complete, like we said before, the GBE evaluations. This, of course, parallels, as I said earlier, the rollover process that used to occur in the old ADS system. We will announce this change again during the webinar and via email this week. On May 7th, we will activate the rollover to give districts who are using SC Lead time to enter SLO scores. Continuing contract educators who skipped the SLO due to the business rules, of course, who were not met, or who will be on continuing formative next year, will need to be entered by hand. So just in summary, if your GBE educator is going forward back into continuing GBE, rehired, you don't have to do anything. The rollover process will take care of it and MET. However, if you have someone who skipped the SLO, someone who's going to be continuing GBE not MET, or who will be on continuing formative next year, you'll still need to do those GBE updates by hand. I'm now going to turn over the presentation to Lilith.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hartwell, and I hope that some of our folks that work with ADEPT are cheering right now, because we really are trying to make the system at least as easy as the former ADS system, if not even a little bit easier. Great question. Before I advance, we have a great question in the chat box from Crystal McSwain. If we have already entered in information for people on a continuing GBE contract, will the rollover override what we've already entered? Absolutely not. So any data that is already in the system will remain in the system. Excellent question. This is only for folks that have an SLO score but do not have information in those final results. Great question. The next slide we want to share with you, and we just have a few more before we open up for questions, is that we've published our 2019-2020 professional learning opportunities. A big thank you to our OEELD team and all of the districts that volunteered to host. We worked to get this information out to you the earliest we ever have as an office, so hopefully you have time to plan. We will still offer a few South Carolina Teaching Standards evaluator trainings. Even though we know many of you are trained as trainers, we want to take that pressure off of you as much as we can. We will offer SCTS 4.0 Train the Trainer training, SCTS 4.0 one-day refresher trainings. We'll continue our coaching conversation trainings. We have sclead.org trainings, refreshers for veterans, and also we've added a training specifically for teacher evaluators, and as usual, our ADEPT Coordinator 101 training. In addition, this year we have newly designed SLO trainings that will be offered this summer. Please click the link here for detailed training information and registration forms. Note that these classes are offered for free. We want to help you build your capacity. If you need more South Carolina Teaching Standards evaluators and trainers, please register soon. Our first South Carolina Teaching Standards 4.0 Train the Trainer is on May 15th through 16th, so coming up soon. And we've shifted to having those Train the Trainers be 2 days only. here at the South Carolina Archives and History Building. Ann Shaw with NIET will be leading the training. Please also note that the training hours for that training have shifted from 9 to 4:30 p.m. and that registered participants will be notified of that change. We also want to point your attention to the availability of our South Carolina Teaching Standards and PADEP video library that's available for free in SC Lead. As you continue planning for the 2019-2020 PADEP and ADEPT support, we want to remind you about access to these videos. Our library includes videos tagged to the South Carolina Teaching Standards as well as the PADEP standards. If you want more information about how to use the Professional Learning Library, go to our website, click on Virtual Office Hours, and look at the 3 frontline webinars. In particular, the October 16th webinar includes step-by-step instructions to access the library. You can also go into SC Lead and click on Learning to access those videos. We've included a link here to the Professional Learning Library overview and a specific link to a set of videos that are linked to classroom management and environment, as we know those are common areas of focus at the beginning of the year, particularly for beginning teachers. We hope that those video resources will be helpful for you as you personalize professional learning for teachers and principals. Finally, as we take questions, we're so thankful to note that this is our last virtual office hours for 2018-19. This is only the second year that we've used this structure, and the first year that we've used it so consistently, every single month, having a chance for you to come together and share ideas. Please let us know, let your ADEPT regional support know, let me know if you have feedback for the future on what would be useful. As we take your questions, we'll leave up our 2019-2020 virtual office hour schedule, and just know that this is pending district calendar review. Also pending events that come up. We decided to go ahead with the webinar today, even though we've got about 10,000 teachers who are advocating for themselves at the State House in Columbia. We always make sure to record our webinars, and for the folks who weren't able to make it today, we'll make sure that they have access to this information. As always, we're thankful for your participation, and we look forward to continuing to build relationships across the state in the coming year. We'll pause now, and if you have questions, feel free to either raise your hand or enter them into the chat box, and we'll call on you and get your questions answered. We know how busy you are, so if any of y'all need to hustle out the door to attend to the rest of your day, feel free to do so. Our team will stick around to answer your questions. Great question from Dr. Hall and Dr. Fowler. I will put the slides up on the web, but actually I'll also add, and I can't talk and do Adobe Connect at the same time. I'm adding a files pod that you should see visible at the bottom of the screen. It says files at the top. If you click on where it says May office hours end of the year reminders and click download files, you can download the slides right now. So just to repeat those directions, you can now see a box that says files near the bottom of the slide. If you click on the title, May office hours, you can click download files and have these slides directly. Just please bear with us. We did not carefully proofread our script. So if we've missed some punctuation or I misspelled a word, we will check the one we put on the website very assiduously.